Hi, I'm Brandon Saffel, and I want to welcome you to the Variety Sports Network. We're so honored to be bringing you a place for the best sports content creators out there today. From football to baseball, hockey, to just a wide array of sports talk, we have everything you can ask for in one place. So we just want to say thank you for coming by and enjoy the show. This is a Variety Sports Network production. Now to your host.
And welcome to another episode of the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast, episode 133. Joining you here on a Sunday morning, a big Game 7 Sunday morning out here in the Bay Area. And I got my usuals with me. I got Tyler McGuirk. I got Brian Johnson with me. And we got a special guest with us this Sunday morning. Boys, we got Terrell Jenkins here with us from Rellism Sports Talk. My man, Terrell, let's start with you. How you doing out there?
Hey, I'm just saying, it's early and it's 9:45 where I'm at. I can't imagine how y'all are feeling, but I'm pumped up for you guys. I had to wear my team's colors because we're waiting for y'all to come join us in the second round. But I am showing some respect right there with a Steph Curry championship ring from a few years ago. So I'm wearing that for good luck for y'all today.
All right, man. Yeah, that would be awesome if we get a Warriors Lakers second round matchup. We'll get into that in a second here. Tyler, how you doing out there?
I'm doing good. It seems to be a popular opinion when we get guests. It's early. It is early every Sunday when we do this thing. I'm excited. Terrell, I'm excited to have you on. From watching your show, it's always high energy and very entertaining. So I'm excited.
Yeah, you're out there in Virginia, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep. Out there, Virginia, out there. Brian, I know we got a lot of draft stuff to get into as well here in a little bit. A little throwback to 03 draft, just a little looking at a few names there. So we'll do that here in a second as a little bit first. But a couple shout outs. Let's start with you, Terrell. You got your Rellism Sports Talk show. You've been doing that for a while. You guys still doing it? You guys going Wednesdays, Friday nights, right?
Wednesday, Friday nights. Then we have a couple new shows called Gloved Up, which is going to be it's a UFC type a channel where they do a whole lot of boxing, UFC, things like that. Loud Outs, which my producer actually does, and he does a lot of it's all strictly baseball. Yep. And then we're going to have one called A Business Trip, which is based out of Taipei, Taiwan. A guy named Jackie Ye is doing some sports out there for us to be on our network. So it's pretty cool. We got a lot of new stuff going on, but I'm always excited to be on with you guys. You guys pump me up. I love it. My man Tyler, next Wednesday, he's going to be on there. So it's going to be my first time working with him. So I'm really hyped up about that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like I said, let's get this baby started here. I also want to give a shout out to P Shark Tyler. He let us jump on his show, the Let's Be Real podcast. We did a little NFL thing with him on Wednesday night there. That was really cool of him to let us join with him on Thursday night doing that draft. So shout out to his podcast. Some of the guys at Variety Sports Network, Far Under the Bench, our guy 3 the Hardaway over there, Savage. And we got our guy DA and a few others. Now, no, I'm always forgetting Doug. I got to shout him out at Hoops of Agenda. And Tyler, this has been our best week views-wise with all those Warriors post-games. So I've shouted anybody that's been supporting the podcast. And my mother, I needed some support last week. She had to join me yesterday too. So we'll be doing that again after the game here. Let's start there. Game 7 predictions, players to watch. Tyler, big game, 12:30 our time out here. Nobody likes those afternoon starts out here, but we get it again. What do you got?
I mean, I don't mind them when they're in Sacramento. It's a little bit. The crowd won't be as riled up, I imagine. I mean, it is a Game 7. Yeah, I'm nervous. I'm excited. I hope we face your Lakers next round. I really do. I think that'd be a great series. But we can't look past De'Aaron Fox and the special player that I didn't know he had this in him. I did not know he had this dog in him. He's just a killer. And it's going to be a fun Game 7. I think we have the championship background. We've been there. We've been in these situations before. It's been a while since we've been in the Game 7, but I think Clay comes to play. He kind of struggled early in that game. And the key is going to be Jordan Poole. Does he give us anything? The way he played last night, or about 2 nights ago, was just atrocious. I've never seen a worse played basketball game. When he's off, he's a top 10 worst NBA
He
player.
bricked it off the bottom of the rim on a layup.
He gives you nothing defensively every game, and when he's just that off on offense, it is tough to watch.
Like my mother said, you can't put a best. You sucked that game, Terrell. I mean, what are you looking for a Warrior? I mean, you have the Game 7. Brian out here was a Lakers fan back in the day too, so you guys know the Game 7 in Sacramento history. You guys pulled it out way back in the day, almost 20 years ago. Can the Warriors do it today? What are you thinking?
Well, as a Laker fan, we call them the Sacramento Queens. You know what I'm saying? The Queens because they can never beat us. But I am pumped up for it. I'm really kind of nervous because I don't want to give away one of my points for later on, but I can see this maybe possibly being one of those turning effect games that changes the whole NBA. And I hate to say it for you guys because I think that if Golden State does not win this game, you're going to see some transformation. And I think it's going to be Draymond Green as his last game as a Golden State Warrior. I really do believe that. The pedigree of the Warriors, how do you go against that? How do you go against Steph Curry? How do you go against Clay, especially in big money games? Clay, I mean, he single-handedly has won playoff series for you by winning one big game, like Game 6 in Oklahoma City, with what I brought up before. But the thing I'm scared about right now is Sabonis for you guys. He had a horrible game last game. He had 7 points, didn't do a thing. That crowd, he performs better under that crowd. I think he's got something to prove to Draymond because Draymond was in his face the whole game. And I don't know. I'm worried about it.
No, I hear you on that one. And he took a black eye there. He's going to come with a shiner to this game as well. He's going to have I'm curious to see what that thing looks like. Draymond was garbage, by the way. I saw that a lot. I didn't think Tyler, I thought Brian, he was one of the worst games he's played all year. I like the point that you brought up with Terrell about this could be the end of the dynasty. Brian, what do you think about that? Like, if I kind of had that down as a note, that's why I brought it up right there. Like, it feels like this could be a transformation. You're the defending champs, Johnson. You can't go out to the Sacramento Kings in the first round. I don't care if they're the 6th seed. It's unacceptable. You got to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Curry and Thompson have to have a Kobe and Shaq performmy
we go. There we go. I don't
that. Exactly. So,
my other note too of the game here is okay. We got in the game last time. I said, we talked about Poole enough here? Can he have a big game? Wiggins also was a no-show. Tyler as well in that game. I didn't think he played very well. He only had 13 points going into it. The referees, we always say that, but here's the keys for me: foul trouble, and they got smoked on the offensive glass. That's what the series is kind of came down to. I feel like the Warriors had the advantage in Game 5 because of that. So those are the two concerns I have: fouls, offensive rebounds, and then is it possible to maybe not let Monk go off once in a while?
Yeah, that's where I think the key is. You have to limit Monk. He can't be going for a high 20 number or a low 30 number. When he's going, they are tough to stop offensively. I also think this is like we'll bring it back to the Lakers. The 2002 Lakers series versus the Kings. It was kind of their last hurrah. Yeah, they brought in Malone and Payton, but they were at the end of their little road. And if they win this game, we'll see the Lakers, who were a 7 seed. It's not like they dominated all year long. LeBron is older. He's still great, don't get me wrong. AD's been playing out of his mind. But I think this is like the last hurrah. This is their last dance. And I hope that they come to play. Last game, they just didn't show up. And it was at home, which is a scary thought. Like, how do you not even show up to a game like that?
Worst shooting game all year at home in that situation. I mean, I got to give the Kings credit, though. Like, they really did come to play. They definitely had more desperation. But that was the thing that kind of pissed me off as the last game is they did that. They didn't play very well. I feel like the Kings also, Terrell, have this I wrote it here at the end, the choke kind of mantra still around their franchise, not meaning that their team has this, right? But I know for the fans, this is a big game for them.
Well, the big thing about the choke thing is you forget this team is young. I don't think they even know how to choke. They're just out there just playing ball. They're just running and playing.
That's a good point.
Highest scoring team in basketball for a reason because they run and gun and chuck. And they don't just throw it up from 3-point land all the time. They actually play ball together. But going back to that, when Sabonis comes out there with that black eye, going like what you said with the referees, I'm worried that the referee is going to see that and maybe in their mind, because we're all human, and they're like, oh, we got to call it because they're beating up these poor little kids for the king. You know what I mean? I'm worried about that, honestly.
And he flops a lot already. You know what I mean? So I hear you on that. We're already annoyed with him.
Yeah, but I will tell you how big this game is for the Warriors. I know I told you the negative side of it as far as Draymond Green's last game if they lose. If they win this game, I got them going to the finals.
I like that answer. So that means they get by the Lakers in that regard.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a problem. I don't think the Lakers are gonna beat either team.
Well, let's go from that Warriors Kings game, or that we kind of talked about. Like you said, big game today, game 7, 12:30, huge game. My last kind of point I wrote down, and I kind of want to, is Moody and DiVincenzo. I feel like they're like, I feel like Kerr's starting to trust them, Tyler, a little bit more than the other players just by minutes. I don't know. One of them has to do something. Like they're just gonna have to get a performance from the Big Six again. I just don't see how that. I feel like that's what it's really going to come down to. The Kings are starting to get a little bit more from Davis and Lyles, and that weird Sabonis thing with him coming out and able to stretch the floor. Maybe they found something. So I don't know. I'm feeling a little nervous here.
As far as the going small, I think the Warriors can answer that. I think they were a little surprised by it, but they have the small team to be just fine. They have a big guy in Draymond who can guard 5 positions and play defense. I think we'll answer that. What was the first thing you brought up?
That was DiVincenzo or Moody. Those are the guys.
Moody, I feel like at home he trusts. On the road, he never plays Moody. And it's very frustrating. I wish they gave the ball to Moody more. I wish they let Moody do more things. And I wish they played Gary Payton more than they played DiVincenzo. I think he's the better defender. He gives you more offensively with the back cuts, and he seems to know his position a little more than DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo just likes to float around three-point range and throw up bricks, to be honest. It's not like he's hitting these threes he's taking.
All right, so let's make our predictions here. Brian, give me a score. What do you got?
I think the Warriors are going to win. I think it's going to be like 120 to 110.
All right, I like that. Terrell, what do you got?
117, 111. Kings.
170. The Warriors win. Tyler, you got
controversial foul. I'm telling you. I think after doing your post game show, you're gonna be pissed off at the stripes. You're gonna be pissed off at the referees for something.
I can see that.
I am worried about the referees in this game. I'm telling you, perception is reality. When you look and see this, I'm nervous about it.
I hear you. That makes sense. I can definitely see myself frustrated about that. Tyler, what do you got?
I'm not jinxing you.
I know you're not. You're not. Tyler, what do you got?
I think it's going to play out like Game 5 did. I think the Warriors will get a little lead. They'll start blowing it, and then we'll sort of pull ahead at the end. I got 119, 111 Warriors.
I got to go Warriors.
But I wouldn't be surprised either way, to be honest.
For God's sakes, this team for the love of God, you cannot lose this game. It's a big game for you. Let's go, Warriors Nation. Show up. Let's go. Let's go, Warriors. Get this done today. All right, let's hit some other NBA topics here before we get to the NFL. All right, I got the 4-out offense today. We're going to run the 4. I got 4 questions we can move through here pretty quick. All right. The last night, Denver comes out with the victory. They end up they kind of rolling on the Suns a little bit. I kind of thought that what might happen in game 1, but do you think the Suns, Charles Barkley brought it up. I thought it was kind of a weird point. But do you think, Tyler, that the Suns can score enough with Denver?
I think they can score enough. I think the bench is the biggest concern. Their bench gives them nothing. The Suns actually saw 51% from the field, better than the Nuggets did. Durant's going to get his. Booker's going to get his. They just got to do more. They got to be in the mid-30s, both of them, every night. And I think they can do that. I think it's a 7-game series. Jokic is going to be an absolute beast. They have no one to match up with him. On DeAndre Ayton just didn't seem like he was even like there mentally. So I think it's going to be a good series. I do think they can score with him. And I think it's going to come down to free throws. I think at home, the Suns are going to get 30-plus free throws a game, where on the road it's going to be like pretty even.
Terrell, you got a feeling about this series one way or the other?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what I was scared was going to happen because I do not like the Denver Nuggets, and I know you have some people on here. What is the far end of the bench? My apologies, but I cannot stand Denver. So,
why is that? Why is that?
Honestly, I don't know. I do know. Growing up, the Lakers have always been my favorite team, but I became a Sean Kemp fan. He was my favorite player when I was a child, younger age. Played for the Sonics, and I remember being at my Aunt Ruth's house, and Dikembe Mutombo and them shocked us, man. We didn't want to see these laying on the floor like, and ever since then, I cannot stand the Denver Nuggets. It's warped in my mind. So anyway.
Him and Mookie Blaylock.
Yeah.
This is what I was scared was going to happen anyway. Like Tyler said, the depth of Denver, I think it overwhelms Phoenix. I think if Phoenix is going to have a chance because they do have that star power in the offensive unit, they have to get out to a big lead and sustain that while they rest people. Oh, we saw when Kevin Durant went out, it was like an overflow, and then they couldn't catch back up, and I worry about that. And to your point, DeAndre ain't nothing. He's a punk. He's wimpy. He can't do anything, and it's a disgrace that they paid him all this money just to be 7 foot tall. He is horrible.
Brian, it's funny. I kind of feel like because the centers, like if you look at the league now, you got like the centers like are right there at the MVP race, right? And back in the day, in like the 90s and the early 2000s, because of Shaq and these other centers, you had to get all these big guys, right, to counter the best big guys, and then they would get paid just because they were the biggest bodies to go against them. I think we're starting to see that with some of the big guys. I think Ayton's maybe better than a Todd McCullough we saw back in the day. But you get my point. There is some guys that are going to get overpaid here in a little bit. You think Denver or Phoenix pulls it out, Brian?
I think it's going to end up being Phoenix. I just think they're the more talented team.
Give me Durant, give me Paul, give me Booker. I think that's what a lot of people are relying on. That's what the Suns are, for God's sakes. That's what they're doing. They're just relying on the big three there. What do you think's got more pressure, Terrell, Philly or Boston? I kind of think it. I feel like you can go both ways because Boston's had the issue with Brown a little bit this year, kind of making. Like maybe he's not fully going to be there. Then you have Embiid. I kind of figure how many years does he have left with his, his body? How long can that hold up? And then you got Doc. Who do you think's got more pressure there?
Oh, this is a great question. I put it on my show, and it had everybody really like that. And like you said, to the point, Doc's history. I mean, he's got that one with the big three Celtics and Embiid health, and Harden already said he wants to leave. But I look at the other side. I think the Celtics, ever since Tatum's been in the league, 6 straight years they went to the semifinals or the Eastern Conference Finals every time. Yep. We talk about progression all the time in the NBA. You have to earn your keep. You have to beat the big bad wolf in front of you. Well, they've gotten to the big bad wolf already. It's time to go win. If you can't win right now, especially with the number 1 seed out of the way, then I don't know what's going to happen.
I think that's a good point because that's the thing with the progression. That's why I feel like it's like an interesting pressure question, like you brought up on your show too, because you have that Embiid factor who has the MVP, and they're Harden there. He's getting older. Tyler, what do you think of that?
That's a good question. Like Terrell said, I think it's Philadelphia just because they're later in their careers and they haven't won anything. I mean, Doc's got the championship in Boston, but like as far as Embiid and Harden, they have the individual hardware. They just don't have that championship, and they're getting a little longer in the tooth. And like you said, Embiid has the injury history. Tatum's going to be around for another 10 years, dominating the NBA. Like Jaylen Brown, that Jaylen Brown aspect, he could be gone. He obviously doesn't like playing in Boston. It doesn't like the crowd. It's like the whole living in Boston scenario. So we'll see what happens there. But I still think that he can go make a career somewhere else. Also, I think it's Philadelphia with just Harden, Embiid, and then Doc being the choke artist he's been since he left Boston.
Brian, I feel like it's Embiid there a little bit because I just worry about the big guys staying healthy. Like almost like not like he's better than Yao Ming. I know that, but my point is like these guys they have so much lifespan. It feels like as the big guy.
He's like 7'6", and
he goes against the mold, but he falls a lot. He falls a lot. He's a big guy. You get my point. Like he's not the only big guy to break that early in his career. But what do you think about Embiid or Boston? Who do you think's got more pressure there?
I'm definitely gonna say Philly just because it's kind of more wide open now since the number 1 seed's out in the Eastern Conference.
Man, that's for sure. And let's go to that series, Brian. You're the natural at this. That's a good transition. Let's go to the Killer Bees. I got that right down. Okay, I was on your show a few weeks back. Maybe it was 3, Terrell. You brought up to me the question was, I think it was for the next 5 years, would you rather have the Knicks core or the Cavs core? I believe that's what it was. And I said, you guys both said Knicks. I said Cavs. They lose. So maybe you're on to something there. But Brunson, I underestimate him, almost like I say to the football aspect, how I underestimated the Jalen Hurts. I underestimated Brunson here. And then you have Butler. I mean, my gosh. I mean, just an out-of-this-world performance. And now they meet up in just an old school. If you're a basketball there, you like it. Can I get the old uniforms too? Can I get that as well? Can I get that? Maybe somebody can slick back their hair a little bit too. What do you got, Tyler, in this match? This is going to be a beauty.
I got Miami. I think
really?
They have the best player in Jimmy Butler. And Bam is better than any big guy the Knicks are going to throw at you. I mean, Jalen Brunson has been an absolute stud this whole year since the Western Conference Finals last year. He was probably better than Doncic in those. Well, not better than Doncic in those games, but damn near close. He was the one who would give them something other than him. It's impressive with what he's doing. RJ Barrett's gonna have to step up if the Knicks want it. He's gonna have to be in the low 20s if they want to win the series, in my opinion.
I mean, it is hard though, Terrell. Like I have it right there with Butler. I mean, his performances against Milwaukee were insane, like insane. So I mean, how do you kind of put that into perspective? And it's like it's easy to say, well, the Knicks are the better team, but I mean, the Heat just have this kind of like I almost consider them like the Steelers of football in some regard. They're just kind of a nuisance and always there in that regard. So what do you think about that series?
Well, I mean, look who's the leader of the organization. He was a Laker, so you know what I mean. But anyway, yes, the Heat do have him. They got Hemi Butler because he was him in that series.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. But I just look at it as, and I've been someone to downplay Brunson for a few years now, so I'm with you with that, Darren. But I will say this: the Knicks will beat the Heat because they're so much deeper and they play so much better. And with Randall will be able to be there for game one and stuff. I really think the Knicks, with the home crowd, they're going to win. But only because I think Miami had to put so much into winning and losing Hero, and they lost some other players, and they're beat up and they're older anyway. Fat Lowry can't do it anymore. I just feel like the Knicks, it's their time. They put in their due and all those draft picks, and they beat the Cavs and still got them picks. That's why I said the future's better for them.
All right, so
one more thing before you. One more thing. The old school rivalry. Can I get Alonzo Mourning in the crowd? I need Jeff Van Gundy on the microphone. I need everybody in every game. That's old school.
Charles Oakley action.
Dude, those were awesome series. The Allen Houston one. Like, I wouldn't say that if you go back, you might want to fast forward through some of the offensive possessions. But with that said, you did get some intensity in that game, especially in those Larry Johnson days. I agree. Those were some fun games.
Awesome.
Dude, obviously, we all remember Van Gundy.
Yes.
The hair flop.
Man, that guy knows how to fight, right?
Morning. I always thought that was funny. They got a couple. My favorite one, I think, was the one where is it PJ Brown that gets like pushed into the crowd? Maybe that's the one. I feel like somebody shoves PJ Brown into the crowd, and then it's just all chaos from there in the Miami bench there. So those are some good rivalries as well. All right, let's get to the last one here, Brian. You got Lakers, Memphis. Lakers roll in Game 6, and like I said, they do more than quiet Memphis. They basically shut them up and kind of end their season. I think Memphis, they had that 1 week, man. Like they had like a 2-week stretch that just killed their season. They had like 2 injuries to their centers. Ja does his thing, and boom, next thing you know, they're out in the first round. Brooks acts a fool, and they get punished for it. Terrell, let's go to you, Brian, first, actually. What'd you think about your Lakers not your Lakers anymore, but what'd you think the Lakers beating the Memphis?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Memphis just didn't show up from day one, and
they were.
I don't know, man. I mean, all that it seems like they talk too much, and it kind of bit them in the butt this series.
Well, I don't, like I said, you don't want to poke the bear too much there, Terrell. It felt like the Lakers got the wake-up call after that Brooks talk in Game 2, and they took it to him after that, it felt like.
Yeah, you're right. Speaking of poking the bear, you saw what LeBron said. You see me in the forest with a grizzly bear, you better help the bear. But hey, I think the Grizzlies were a little gun shy. I don't know what was going on. They were a little gun shy.
No pun intended. Or pun intended.
But yeah, Ja, I think he does have an injury with his hand, and I think that affected some things. I'm not going to poo-poo them losing 2 of their centers because our center, Lord knows, every time he hits the ground, I think he's going to break up like a puppy. So,
my shoulder's out. My shoulder's. That's my favorite one.
They needed Dylan Brooks to run his mouth to get through the series, honestly, because they're old. I just don't have any faith in the Lakers, especially to either team they play next round. This was their Super Bowl. This was their everything, so we'll see.
Hey, I got to ask you, before we go to the NFL, I got to ask you this because I heard you guys a few weeks ago talking about you thought the NBA's kind of got a little softer. I mean, obviously has, but like some of these things, and my biggest issue with the NBA, on a general note, you guys can feel free, is I hate the technicals. I mean, like, do you watch the game and get annoyed by that too? Because it sounded like you were kind of frustrated by the softness of some of the NBA too. And when I see some of these technicals for a guy showing emotion and that, all I think is sponsorship money and of course we don't want fights in a crowd. We get that. That's an obvious. But I mean, I don't know. There's something about the game that these technicals for me have really kind of ruined it in some ways. I still watch it all, but there's something that I just miss from like the guys being able to show this true emotion.
Right. He talked to me.
Yeah. Oh. What do you think about it?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, it reminds me for the NFL, kind of like, what's a catch? Sometimes this is a catch, sometimes that's not a catch.
Yeah.
What's a flagrant foul? What's not a flagrant foul? What's a technical? Everything's not black and white. It's all these expanded rules. You know, I don't know, did the ball cross the line? Let's get an index card to see if it's a first down or not. I mean, we're at 2023. I think we can figure out this is what it is. This is what it is. You know what I mean? So I think that's the biggest problem with the whole thing, is not knowing really what the rule is.
I just hate that games sometimes get decided with these stupid technical fouls right there, Tyler. You got any thought of that before
I think in football it's more with hits, like how they've softened the hitting, and like what's a roughing or what's a like unnecessary roughing. It all depends on who does it, when they do it. Like, yeah, it's a bunch of baloney. As far as Memphis goes, there's a whole thing. Like, you could break this down even for, like, they won the game without Zaw by 20 points, and then he comes back. They don't win another game, or they won one more in game 5. The Grizzlies are a mess. They deserve what they got. They weren't fine in the West. Hopefully they just get humbled by it and they come back better. Because I like their players outside of Dylan Brooks. I hate Dylan Brooks. He's probably my least favorite player in the history of the NBA. I say it every week. But I like the team, and I hope they come back a little more humble. Still have a bravado, but come back stronger.
So Tyler, I love the way you hate Dylan. I just like say it so like it's just like it's so like just so yeah, just very.
It was personal.
It's very personal. It is personal with you.
You take it
to Gary Payton last year.
It's personal.
All right, let's go to the NFL here a little bit. That's the NBA. We got. Go ahead.
Let me ask Tyler one question.
Yeah.
Who would you rather have, Aaron Brooks or Jordan Poole?
Well, I mean, probably Jordan Poole, because at least he's not like out trying to poke bears and stuff. But I'm not. Yeah, I'd rather for contract. I'd maybe Dylan Brooks.
Don't say that. Don't say that. You'll regret that 1 minute when he's in a uniform. It's on tape. It's on tape.
Yeah, but I just would want Dylan Brooks' contract so I could just let him go because he's gone after this year.
So it's not the actual player that you're.
No, it's not the actual player. If it was an actual player, it'd be Jordan Poole. Just because when he is hot, he's unbelievable.
That's funny. Yeah. All right. Hey, so that's NBA. Like I said, big Warriors game here. We'll be doing the post game, game 7 shortly after today. Hopefully, it's a win. I can tell you this: we'll be on the edge of our seat watching. I'll say that. If it's a loss, it might be more entertaining for the folks, but we'll see what happens there at the end. That's usually how it works. The losses we get more views for. All right. If I got to get my mom off, I got to get my mom back off if I lose this game here. All right, NFL draft notes here, Tyler. I know you got about 15 minutes with us here. We'll see if we can get through most of it here. Hey, I got a couple stuff here. Just real quick, Terrell, what stood out to you from the draft? What was your biggest takeaway?
How much I hate the Philadelphia Eagles, even more now.
The Georgia Eagles.
Man.
As a Washington fan, I already hate them anyway. Now I'm just more disgusted by everything that I see. The rich get richer. It's like the NFC is already down here compared to the AFC, and then they just get everything falls in their lap. They're the Georgia Eagles now.
Yep, that's what they are right there. I heard you mentioning Carter on your show yesterday. You thought he maybe, like, obviously, I thought he fell way too low. I mean, they just get they lose the best defensive tackle to the Niners, right, this offseason, and then they replace him with the best prospect that some people have said they've seen in a while. So you're right, they totally get stacked there with it. How about your team, the Commanders? They draft the cornerback there. How you feeling about their draft?
I'm good about Emmanuel Forbes. I mean, I look at it. He had 6 pick sixes last year. Washington in the past 2 years, their quarters, we had 7 in the past 2 years. We don't get turnovers, so I'm happy with that. And Jatavius Smart. I like both our first 2 picks. Then we got line help. I'm always frustrated because it was a tight end laden draft, and we got none of them. So I feel like we needed a tight end, and we got none. So other than that, I'm okay.
Brian, what were you mentioning about the Washington to me earlier this week? What happened with them?
Well, they didn't pick up Chase Young's 5th-year option, so.
What's going on with that?
Yeah, what's up with that? Is he going to be gone next year, or is this a play year to just get what's up with that?
I just have a feeling like the the Niners restructured McCaffrey's contract, so I have a feeling that the Niners really want to put him with Bosa because they both went to Ohio State.
Man, if they got Young and Bosa, how many players can you get on defensive line, man? You just have the highest paid one. No, but Terrell, do you think he's gone next year from your team, from your squad? Is he gone?
Is he a superstar talent that when he's on the field he changes the game? Why would Washington ever want to keep somebody like that? I mean, track record shows that. We would rather go pay for somebody that's been in the league 15 years and make them the highest paid player in football. That's what we do.
Oh man, I saw that. I thought of you immediately. I was
Albert
like, oh my gosh, you're like me with the Raiders. So we just can't catch a break with some of these decisions we make. Go ahead, T.
As far as the Georgia Eagles, the Eagles cleaned up. I don't know how the NFL lets them do this. They trade up with Chicago. Chicago, why don't you take Jalen Carter? Like, I don't get it. I would have taken him third over. I would rather have him than Will Anderson Jr. It doesn't make sense to me how like a guy slides like this. And then they trade up to get Nolan Smith, who was a workout, what looked like the best guy at the combine. Obviously, that's just like a tryout in your underwear, but he had production on the field as well. And then they trade for DeAndre Swift, who, when healthy, is a pretty good bat. He's better than Miles Sanders if he's healthy. So they just get better and better. Howie Rosen, whatever the hell his last name is, deserves a round of applause. It's frustrating. They're going to be tough to beat. That's for damn sure.
The only good thing I saw is that the team that's lost the Super Bowl hasn't ever gone back and like since the Patriots. I think they're the only team to do it. Like the last. So basically, the season's over for the Eagles. You don't have to worry about it. Season's over for them. That's what history says. No, just kidding. So yeah, they draft all those guys. Tyler, anything else stand out to you from the draft? The top two picks.
Something that weird I saw was there was 7 special teams players picked, two punters, 3 kickers, and 2 long snappers. I was like, what the heck is going on here? People are wasting picks on long snappers and punters, and this seems weird to me. The Niners took a kicker, 99th overall. We traded for a kicker in the offseason. I don't know. It just seems strange.
You could never have
too many. All the missed extra points.
That's true.
Well, then you guys got rid of Robbie Gould, or he retired, or one of the two.
He didn't want to be on the Niners anymore.
No, we're going to pay him. Yeah.
He wasn't one of them. What do you think about Young and Stroud there, Terrell? You think one or the other? You think, like I was on it with a Panthers fan with that live draft, and he kind of was like, I kind of wanted CJ Stroud, but he was kind of talking himself into Young. I don't know. When I saw him play, it did seem like Young stood out more. Maybe he had more talent. I don't know, whatever. I think they're both from big schools. To me, that's not really the factor. I just thought Young looked a little bit better. Do you have a feeling about one either way?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a proud Black man to say that this is the second time ever in history that 3 Black quarterbacks were picked in the top 4. Well, in the first round period, but 3 in the top 4 picks. So I love the diversity in the league and the open-mindedness of the league to just listen to everybody and everything, whatever. Get out of these old standards. If somebody can't do something and somebody's better, I like them being open-minded about different things. CJ Stroud, I think physically is more gifted, but the intelligence value and the leadership value goes to Bryce Young. And I think when you have the number 1 pick, he's way less of a worry at that number 1 pick to take Bryce Young. I mean, he's been battling being short all his life, and he just wins. And he just wins. So, I mean, I'll take my chances with Bryce Young any day, especially in that weak division. That he could be the best quarterback in the division.
That's crazy.
That close to your boy Derek Carr.
I know you're the Derek Carr guy. All of you, I think, are Derek Carr over Jimmy G. I think we've had that. Yeah. So I think I've lost that battle to you guys on that one. So you're right. He could be the best one of that division. And then the Texans, they thought they made a strong move getting Stroud, but then coming right back and getting the linebacker from Alabama, who I thought was maybe the best player from I saw in college last year, just impact. But we'll see how that plays out. With the Raiders, Brian, I was watching it and I was thinking, just be smart. You can take cards. There we go. I got one of those.
I rep you, baby. I rep you.
I should get my helmet on, Brian. Where's the Raider helmet? The thing I was thinking with the Raiders though is, Brian, is they're going to overthink this. They just take Carter, take Gonzalez. That you need both. You need a defensive tackle. Now I understand this guy's got the upside, Tyler, but this is always what they end up doing with these picks. So Brian, back to you with it. Were you kind of thinking the Raiders made a mistake by not taking Carter?
It just felt like a Raiders pick, like something you'd reach on, man. Like I was just like, I don't know, man. Like the guy you should have went with, he was there, but then I would took. I don't know. I just would took Christian Gonzalez because you guys really needed corner help.
We do suck at getting to the quarterback, though. To be fair, it's just my worry is sometimes we I don't know. We have no freaking history of draft success really in the first round, so that's probably why I'm pessimistic the most. Terrell is we just can't get to it. But Tyler, I don't understand. Like you have these two guys, like the top prospects there at these positions. Just take them. What are we doing?
I did a top 10 mock draft that I said whoever takes Higbee or Tyree Wilson's gonna be the biggest bust of the draft. Sure enough, the Raiders decided I'm gonna take Tyree Wilson. It doesn't make sense. You have the best D lineman in the whole college football, and you got I'm gonna go with the guy who might be better 4 years from now. Like, what? And then the whole Christian Gonzalez slipping all the way to the Patriots. The Patriots look like geniuses for what they did, trading back. It makes no sense. The draft makes no sense to me. How guys go before other guys, and I don't know the science behind it.
I don't know what all went down with Carter and his situation, like legally and all that. I haven't really done enough in depth. I wonder if any of that played a factor because of Ruggs' situation with the year before. I don't know, like if maybe that scared him off enough to just say he's out or something like that. And they didn't even consider him, but. That just from a talent standpoint, that didn't make any sense. Terrell, me and you need to just do like a Raiders Commanders diary, like it just like our pain over the years of like our ownership decisions have been ridiculous. Some of the ownership decisions our teams have made have just been horrendous over our history, especially the last like 25 years with it. So I thought that was with it. Are you guys ESPN or NFL Network draft people? If you do watch it,
ESPN.
ESPN with it. Brian, which one do you go?
I probably go FL Network because I can't handle too much of Booger McFarland.
You're not a Booger guy.
I don't know, man. He's just too much for me.
The Mel's hair. I like Mel's hair. We gotta go. That's why I gotta go draft Mel style today. That's why I slipped in. So we got there. Hey, I got a couple things here. A question of the week
Todd.
here. Go ahead, Brian. Tyler, what do you got?
I just said Todd.
Okay, I got question of the week here. Brought to you by Row One Brand. Use that code VSP15. You'll get 15% over on the website there. Got a question for you. I thought it was kind of an interesting one I saw this week was who was the better QB at their peak, Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees? I thought that was kind of an interesting question there. Tyler, who would you go with?
I mean, I don't really think it's really close. It's Rodgers. Rodgers he could move better. He could get outside the pocket better. He threw the ball better. Brees was more accurate, and he had
not a drama queen
great
as
touch.
much.
He was a great quarterback, but I think Rodgers is much better quarterback.
What do you think there, Brian?
I think Brees had a run there for a while with the Saints, where you could probably say Brees, but I'm gonna go with Rodgers.
That has to make you sick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We were their daddy in the playoffs.
We beat both of them in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, the only one that did the same. It wasn't a playoff game, right? But that was the one that you guys were pissed with Brooks in the sack, right?
Yeah,
Where he gets flagged for hitting Drew Brees the regular season game there. Terrell, I'm interested. What do you got here? Brees at all? Or you going Rodgers easily as well?
I don't even think it's close, and I hate Aaron Rodgers, but it's Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
it's Aaron Rodgers.
You didn't say anything about who's more clutch or who would I take to win a Super Bowl or get to one. It's who's better at their peak is Aaron Rodgers. Now, if we ask any of the other two questions, I might go the other way.
It's funny. I go Drew Brees on this one. That's kind of why I brought it up. And the reason I do is I just think like people forget how good he was in those 3 years where he was on top of the world with the Saints. Like his accuracy and you could say it was the system or whatever. Maybe he was in a dome or he just put up numbers. And to me, had all that stuff for his size. And he just didn't have that drama stuff. I felt like he did towards the end with obviously that one situation where he came out about, but before it wasn't as much of a big deal with him. So I actually would take Brees at his peak, believe it or not, with other than Rodgers. So I thought that was kind of interesting to look at. I wanted to do kind of a quick little segment here as we kind of move on from the draft a little bit, which I found very interesting. Go check out the Rellism Sports. You guys did a nice job on that draft as well. So check out when you guys talked about it. You guys did a good job. You and Brandon there with it. I wanted to do kind of a quick little look back at the 2003 draft, just because I thought it was 20 years ago. And I always kind of find it fascinating. All these guys are out of the league now, so you kind of see where some of them are at. Obviously, Carson Palmer goes number one in this draft, followed up by Rodgers and Johnson. That's your top three in this draft. We got Robertson, Newman, Jonathan Sullivan to the Saints was 6, Byron Leftwich 7, Jordan Gross 8, Kevin Williams 9, and Terrell Suggs 10. That rounds up your top 10 of that draft. But some of the things I wanted just to talk about from that draft, why I found it funny was, Brian, I remember this being a big deal because the Vikings, they didn't make that selection. I remember that, like, the draft was always boring because it was like 15 minutes back then, and you're like, how the heck can anybody in the world watch this thing for the whole time? And then Chris Berman, oh my God, we got something going on. Like, it felt like it was like a big deal or something like that. I don't know. I think I was at your house watching that. It was like freshman year of college. I think I was at your house when that broke down there. Do you remember that with Kevin Williams? They ended up getting their guy, but they ended up not making their selection at 7.
Yeah, I know that was crazy. I remember Berman going nuts, like it was like the biggest thing ever.
Do you remember that, Terrell? They kind of swooped in there.
That was funny. It's just like you said, it takes so long between picks. You're kind of walking around or whatever, and then you kind of look back like, who they take? Who they take? And you're like, what?
Other teams are running up to the stage to make
trying to run,
to get in front of them.
The fact they didn't make it, I was like, there had to be something behind this more. So I went back and I kind of was reading some articles this week on what actually happened. So the owner, that he's passed away now, but it sounds like he put a ton of pressure on the GM and the coach to trade the pick from 7 because they didn't want to pay Williams the signing bonus, whatever it was. They were going to select him at 10. So I guess that was part of the reason why they were so late on all these things, was because of that. And so the front office, they didn't want to speak meanly. It sounded like on a dead guy, but it sounded like you knew where the blame was. So that's where the frustration lied. But I thought that was kind of funny with it. I looked at some of it, the players. Well, one little fact I found interesting was, you wouldn't think this, but Willis McGahee and Andre Johnson end up with the same amount of touchdowns from that class. They both end up with 70 touchdowns. I kind of forgot how good Willis McGahee was.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember him at all? I mean, he was a stud.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he had all the question marks about his knee coming out. He tore it up in that championship game. I think it was the championship game against Ohio State.
Yeah.
He ended up being a good play. I still think Andre Johnson's like peak is higher than Willis McGahee.
Yeah.
Like Andre Johnson was the best receiver.
It's crazy. I mean, they both end up with, right, in this draft class out of Miami.
Willis McGahee had surprisingly like a long career for a running back. He stuck around with the Ravens and was pretty good on the Ravens. So like, yeah.
And he did a second life with Denver too. I feel like he got a little run.
Yeah, Denver with Peyton Manning.
I thought he was there. Well, I was a big fan of in this draft as well, Brian. I know I'm a big fan of him, but Terrell, Anquan Bolden, he was in this draft. So my question to you is, would you rather have Bolden or Jason Witten?
I'm a Redskin fan, dude. I hate Jason Witten. What do you mean? No, but honestly, Anquan Bolden was my dude, yo. Yeah. I like those physical type receivers, and he was. I know he's with the Cardinals or whatever, but he was a Raven. Like he was that dude. I liked Anquan.
Yeah, he killed us in the Super Bowl.
He ended up with the most touchdowns in that draft class. So out of that one, he ended up with 82. Witten ended up with 74. Johnson 70, and then fourth, a name here we haven't heard it in a while. Mr. Dallas Clark ended up with the fourth most receiving touchdowns.
From the Colts.
So, and then a surprise. I think he's on NFL Network now. Nate Burleson, and then your boy Brian, number 6, Brandon Lloyd. He was a Redskin as well. Brandon Lloyd, I believe.
He was a 49er too.
He was.
Who do you think was the biggest bust in that draft? I'd probably say Bowler or Rodgers.
Oh, Bowler was terrible. I mean, I remember he was at Cal. Sorry, Matt Lutzel. He was not very good in the NFL. He was a cousin of one of my friends out here, but he was what we call Tyler stiff in the hips, right? But he could throw a ball. What was it? He could throw a ball like 50 yards from his knees or something like that.
Yeah, through the goalpost. The back to Bolden, though, surprising thing about the Bolden thing, he was the second receiver Arizona took that draft. They took Brian Johnson out of Florida State as well, and then they took Bolden out of Florida State, Penn State, back-to-back rounds, and Anquan Bolden ended up being a much better player as it played out, but just funny how that works.
And a big thing, I remember that first game, Trails, Carlos Rogers, you remember that name? He was the second pick from Michigan State. It's him and Bolden, I think, both went off in their first game against each other, something like that, and in that game as well. A couple of other things from this draft I found interesting as well was look at the rush. Like I said, McGahee ended up with the most rushing touchdowns with 65. And then Larry Johnson, old name there, he had 55. But after that, a terrible running back class. I don't even remember the name Dominic Williams. You guys remember that name from Houston? I don't remember him. I was thinking he played at LSU. I was like, I don't even know who that is. So he ended up with the most there. And then our guy, Justin Farrier. Yeah, exactly. Justin Fargas, little shout out to that draft, Brian.
Oh, yeah.
He was in there. He had the 4th most rushing touchdowns. Not a good running back class, folks. Did not end up well.
Boy, right?
Yeah, Justin Fargas right there with it.
And the Raiders ended up with Mr. Irrelevant in that draft.
Yeah, we did end up with Mr. We always end up with Mr. Irrelevant. Are you talking about players? Why? No, I'm just kidding. Brian, do you know?
I'm just saying you guys got the last pick of the draft.
Yeah, we did have the worst one. This was the quarterback draft though in this class, and then we'll move on. But I just thought it was funny looking back at some of these guys in the league because you forget, like, I guess that's the thing with the NFL draft. Like, I don't find the event almost as exciting because of how long it is, but I always like looking back at the history of it and where these guys ended up with it. And some of the quarterbacks, real quick, we got Palmer Leftwich, the 3rd most touchdowns, Brian, thrown in this class. Sexy Rexy, Rex Grossman, the 3rd. He had the 3rd most, and then you got Bowler, followed by a name that we haven't heard in a while, folks. Seneca Wallace. He's up there at the top 5
from Seattle.
So yeah, he's one there with it. So
the Cyclone.
Yeah, so I thought it was fun kind of looking at it. Tyler, I know you got to take off here. You got a little league game to get to.
Tyler.
I'm out.
Good luck with it.
Later,
Terrell, keep in touch about Wednesday.
I'm gonna hit you up.
All right, later, guys.
We'll be ready Wednesday.
Hey,
thank you, man.
Hey, so before we get to winners and losers, real quick, I got a question. Suggs or Polamalu? Those seem like the 2 beasts on defense. You also have Mathis that played in this group. You got to go. That's AFC North football, gentlemen, at its best right there. You got to go Suggs or Polamalu there, Terrell. What's your style?
I mean, it's Terrell Suggs, baby. It's Terrell.
Yeah,
Terrell Suggs.
There you go. I respect that answer there.
I hate the Steelers, so I'm just biased.
Yeah, you got to go there. Brian, you got one?
I got to go with Polamalu because he was just such a great safety.
I real quick, because Brian's a Niners fan, and then we'll get to winners and losers. And Terrell, I had to ask you this because it was so funny when I was on with you a couple weeks ago. We had Shimon on there as the Niners fan, and that one point where I was like, "Yeah, I got to go with him with thinking Purdy played better than Jimmy G in that stance." And so I brought that up to Brian. And what did you? I'm just curious, because Brian's a little bit more hardcore Niners fan than me in this sense. What did you see from Jimmy G that you think he's still better than Purdy, from the sense that you don't trust Purdy yet?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's anything I've seen or whatever. I've just seen the track record of him. And Purdy was drafted where he was at for a reason. And he didn't really do anything that shocked me on the field. His team was loaded. He got to be up there with McCaffrey. You know what I'm saying? He got to have all these things. If you'd have given Jimmy G McCaffrey for a full season with all this, I think you'd seen even more from him. You know what I mean? I just think Purdy, I don't know. I think now that everybody's going to have some tape on him, let him come back, and we'll see what happens.
I know, Brian, for you, it's kind of funny because Brian kind of wants the Niners to give Lance a shot. So it's
of course.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is his chance because Purdy won't start the year, and if he can show some strides and that he looks good, it's probably gonna make Shanahan think like, who should I really go with in the future?
And people are even talking Sam Darnold. I told you about out here. So it's like, to me, the Niners are in an interesting situation, Terrell. They're the most fascinating team going into next year because of their quarterback situation. Yeah. All right, gentlemen, we're getting close to the end here. Let's get to our winners and losers of the week. Terrell, very pumped you're with us this week. Tyler had to take off here. Let's go with you first. You got a loser of the week, Terrell?
My loser of the week is all the NFL organizations as well as my Washington team who passed on Lamar Jackson when everything worked out for Lamar. Everybody said, oh, it won't work out. He doesn't have an agent. Let's collude together so we don't have to give any money. And you give him $185 million guaranteed that you could have done 2 years ago. You could have done this anyway. I mean, it's 5 years, $260. You're paying him $50 million a year. What do you think that he was going to get anyway? We could have got him. Atlanta could have got him. All these other teams could have got him for the market value of what it ultimately wound up being. You're definitely the losers, all your NFL organizations who passed up on a star quarterback that you could have. That's a good call. That's a good call. I had him as kind of on our NFL topics as well. I mean, was he the highest paid quarterback now too? Yeah. So I mean,
I think what made it hard was the exclusive tag, because you had to give up 2 first-round picks and give him a contract. So people were like, they didn't want to deal with that.
Well, when he asked for a trade, that's when you could have started maneuvering some things to get a trade.
Exactly.
That's it. But I mean, it's who cares? I'll give up a second-round pick and pay him the money. Who cares?
Yeah, no doubt. That's a good call there. Loser of the week, NFL owners. Terrell or Brian, who do you got for loser of the week here?
I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns. They gave up all that capital for Deshaun Watson, and I just thought they had a really bad draft. And it's not looking good for the Browns right now.
The Browns are one of those other franchises that just can't get out of their own way. Maybe even worse than mine in some ways. They just cannot get out of their own way with it. All right, my loser of the week. I got the Bucks. You can't lose to the Heat 3-1. You just can't, or 4-1. It's just not. You got to at least take this to 7, right? You can't lose that bad. You can't lose at 5 to Miami. So they're my loser of the week. I also got baseball here. Jacob DeGrom goes down. Your guy, I know your guy Jared's a Mets fan. They got rid of DeGrom this year. He's on the Rangers.
Yeah, we're happy about him. I'm a Mets fan.
Yeah, he's on the injury list now. So loser of the week, he goes down again. And then I got to go Bruins. They have the best record in hockey. There's a chance they could lose tonight in Game 7. You don't want to have that. The President's Trophy, one of the best records all time. You cannot lose to the Florida Panthers. It just cannot happen. So don't be a loser of the week, Bruins, in that regard there. So those are the couple of the ones I have. And then I have a good one too, is Roger Goodell and these bro hugs when guys get drafted. Yeah. I'm not a fan of these.
That's not good.
I'm not a fan of some of these bro. I'm like, what the? I don't know. That always kind of is weird to me.
Yes.
It gets. Terrell, what you got for winner of the week?
My winner of the week, I went through a whole lot of winners. Actually, losers too. But my winner of the week is the NBA. The NBA because I feel like the NBA, seeing what we're seeing this year, because like you said, I fell off a little bit about basketball just because I was tired of all the super teams and everybody trying to do these things. But looking at the playoffs now and looking at the teams left, there's no super teams. There's nobody with more than 2 stars on a team. And I love the parody of it. I love what's going on with Golden State. Could this be the end of something with the LeBron and the Lakers? Could this be their last hurrah? The emergence of all the young teams, Kings, and is Denver finally going to do it? Is Philadelphia? The old school storylines of the Heat, Knicks, in Boston, Philly. I think the NBA is my winner because it's showing that it's more than just one big superstar, LeBron James. There's a whole platform of different teams and talents everywhere that more people need to pay attention to.
That's a good one of the week. Yeah, it's really wide open. We don't usually get that in the NBA. That's a great call there. Brian, you got a winner of the week?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Lamar Jackson because he was his own agent. He finally got that deal done, and he only gains Odell Beckham, so now he has another weapon to throw to.
You think Odell's got something left?
Yeah, I mean, I think he took a bunch of time off, so I think he'll.
That he did. You think he's got a little life left there, Terrell, too?
Yeah, he took a lot of boat rides with his Timbs on. But but I mean, they got some other receivers there also. They drafted a stud, Zay Flowers.
Yeah.
And then you got Duvernay coming back and Rashard Bateman coming back. And they got no catching with his hands, Nelson Aguilar. So I think they got some weapons out there. We'll see.
I know I got my guy Savage, who's an Eagles fan. He's not a big fan of Aguilar. I know he wasn't a big fan of him back in the day there. All right, my winner of the week, I got to give a shout out to the guys and some of the fans in Oakland here that they're doing. If anything Oakland does well, Brian, it's protesting, right? They got people protesting the John Fisher and the A's ownership. They're at the games doing their thing over there. So keep it up. Maybe we get lucky. We get a miracle there, keeping that team. I also got the Pirates' first National League team to 20. That's shocking for me. Jimmy Butler, like I mentioned. The Lakers, well done, getting to the second round. I did not expect that to happen. And then the home runs in Mexico yesterday. They had 11 yesterday between the Giants and the Padres. So that was pretty crazy to see home run derby. I know our guy here, Tyler, was watching that. They lose those 16-11. So a couple winners in the week, but ultimately the winner of the week. Let's see, I got to get the banner up one more time for him. This guy right here, Jimmy Butler. You go Jimmy Butler. You get 56 like that. I mean, my God, the way he did it, that was a big-time winner of the week there for sure. So that's the show, guys, for this week, episode 133. Terrell, I'm really glad you could join us this week, man. It was fun having you on. We touched on a lot of different topics. Again, where can we find you at, man? What do you got going on this week?
Rellism Podcast on YouTube and Spotify. I will have Mr. Tyler on there, guest speaking with me on Wednesday. Wednesday's more of a show. Either I do local talent or different kind of promotions for different people or having special guests like I'll have this Wednesday. Friday night is my Raw show that I was privileged to have you on a few times, where we let our hair down a little bit. We just really get into it.
I think I banged the table last time.
So we do different things like that, and I'll probably be jumping on some of the other channels that we have going on, talk about the UFC from last night and stuff like that. But yeah, go Mets, go Lakers. Good luck to your Warriors. I'm gonna wear it all day until y'all win.
I know. And hey, I really want to say too, I mean this, I've been doing the podcast thing for about 3 years, and like it's just kind of was it's a hobby, right? It kind of starts out there, you kind of form something more, and it's been fun to do. Get Brian on, and my friends that you kind of grow up, Tyler, since you're friends or that you've been knowing your whole life. I gotta say, you're one of my favorite people I've been on, and I love your show. I really mean that, dude. You bring like this really pure energy, and I can tell like you're kind of coming from the right place when you do it. So I just really enjoy it, and like you're an inspiration for me to keep going. Sometimes when like you're fatigued, because sometimes you get fatigued doing this. I'm sure you've maybe felt the same thing. You kind of like, I don't know, man, I didn't get as much that show or whatever. But I just think that like I just want to make sure you understand that, man. So you keep me going.
Hey man, I appreciate it. I feel the same way. Likewise, that's why I blow you up all the time. You free this week?
There we go. Hey, and we'll keep doing that. We'll keep collabing together. It's as always been fun here, Brian.
Thank you.
Brian, Terrell, till next time, guys.
All right. Peace.
All right, Brian. All right, Brian.
See you there.
Thank you.